All right, so here's an example of how to find the value of x using the quadratic equation. So this quadratic equation I have over here in blue, and it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So first we have to figure out what are the b's and the a's and the c's. Well, that's in the standard quadratic model, which looks like this. ax squared plus bx plus c. So the amount of x squareds I have is a, which is right here. The amount of x's I have is b, and the amount of c's I have, is the number of ones values we have here. So right away, I need to figure out what my a, my b, and my c are. In this equation, the amount of x squareds I have is just 1, so a would be just 1. The amount of x's I have is negative 16, so I'm going to get that here. And then c, the amount of ones I have is just 7. So I can go ahead and plug this into my equation now. So it's the opposite of b, which is going to be the opposite of negative 16, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 16 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 7, all over 2 times my a, which in this case is just 1. And again, if you're wondering where did I get this equation from, my quadratic equation is up here in the top right. And now we just have to use some algebra to simplify this down. All right, so the opposite of negative 16 is simply just positive 16, plus or minus the square root, and then negative 16 squared is actually 256, minus 4 times 1 times 7, which is 28, all over 2 times 1, which is just 2. So this is one step in. So now I just have to take it a step further. I know that this is 16 plus or minus the square root of 228 all over 2. Okay, now if I want to simplify the square root of 228, I know that the square root of 228 can be split up into the square root of 4 times the square root of 57, which means this is essentially 2 times the square root of 57. So I can rewrite this as 16 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 57 all over 2. And I can simplify this using one more step. So if I recognize that there is a 2 in the denominator, I know that this is essentially just 16 over 2 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 57 over 2. And if I simplify my fraction, 16 over 2 is equal to 8. And then plus or minus, I have a 2 on the top and the bottom, so this is just going to be plus or minus the square root of 57. And this is my answer. All right, I hope this helps. If you'd like to see one more example, I'll go ahead and put a link to that on the screen. Have a nice day.